Chairman, we're live.
Thank you, Sonia. Good morning, members, and a warm welcome to this Flood Forum meeting. And also, I would like to extend a warm welcome to any members of the public that are viewing this on Rochford Council's YouTube channel. I would like to open by making a number of comments. The last forum met on the 27th of January 2020. It seems that the recent rainfall has particularly provoked the urgency for another meeting, and hence we are meeting today. But I have to say that the circumstances in which we meet are not ideal. They are not ideal because I passionately believe that there should be a public opportunity for interaction with members and the various agencies so that there can be appropriate dialogue with everyone so that we can address this in a open and transparent way. Unfortunately, the system that we are using is dictated by Zoom and the YouTube channel. Ideally, I would have liked this to have been a totally open meeting so that it was a opportunity to see members of the public who wish to join us and have dialogue. So I, as chairman, would like to apologise that that can't happen, partly through the difficulties of the present time of having media, these virtual meetings. But what I would like to say at the outset is I've actually called for a traditional flood forum meeting to take place in the autumn, to hopefully take place in the conventional way in which we would meet. So I see this as a best fit meeting, and I look forward to the return of proper physical meetings, hopefully in the autumn. And that meeting will pick up particularly on issues that are raised today and give people to have the opportunity to have proper dialogue. Now, the way I intend to handle today is to go through the formal agenda, but I certainly want to ensure that we have plenty of time to deal with questions and current issues rather than spending an awful lot of time on historical issues, which I gather are historical because they've appeared on the agenda or they've appeared on the notes on previous occasions and on many occasions. So I do actually want to ensure that we devote most of our time today to the live issues that have been raised. So by way of introductory comments, I think that's as far as I want to go. First of all, looking around the screen, I can't see any people that were on the list to attend not being here, Sonia, but are you aware of any apologies?
No, I'm not aware of any apologies, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Now, the notes of the meeting of the 27th...
Chairman, sorry to interrupt. I know it's not on the agenda, but I do feel that I need to declare a couple of points of interest with regards to the agenda and some of the questions that have come up later. So sorry for interrupting you.
No, that's absolutely no problem, Councillor Steptoe. Did you want to make those points now? That might be an appropriate time to get them
if I may, Chair. Obviously, I need to declare interest as both parish and county councillor for the area of Barling, but most importantly, with regards to the matter of Barling Creek, I do need to declare that one of the tributaries that run into Barling Creek actually runs through my garden, so I do have a particular interest there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Steptoe. And are there any other members that wish to record similar sort of comments under what would be known as declarations? Councillor Gooding.
I would just like to declare that I'm a ward councillor in Hawkwell West, and I'm hoping to be covering the problem in Rectory Road, which is part of my ward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Judy Gooding. Councillor Michael Hoy.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I just declare an interest. It should be on the agenda. I think Councillor Ward said he had put it on there, but there's an issue of flooding around the Barrett David Wilson home site in Holbridge, which I back onto. Thank you.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Councillor Hoy. Look, this is going to be a meeting with a bit of a difference, but I do not want to preclude any items. So can you make sure that during the course of the next hour or two, you make sure that it is brought into the meeting agenda if it gets overlooked for any reason? I'm sure you will, Councillor Hoy. I think you're speaking, but you're on mute.
Sorry, I wasn't speaking, but yes, I will. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much indeed. Okay. Look, what I think we'll do is we will go through the notes. Now, first of all, members, are they generally an accurate record? I wasn't here. I wasn't chairing this time last year, but so I'm dependent on you telling me. Councillor McPherson, you have your hand up.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Like yourself, I wasn't present at the last forum meeting, but hopefully councillors who were present can confirm this. On page 4, it refers to Barling Creek, Kimberley Road ditch. There's a strange comment at the end which says remove. So I don't know why anybody would have put remove, as there's been an ongoing issue since 2014 which has not been resolved.
Okay.
Perhaps somebody who was present can advise. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McPherson. Look, on points of accuracy, I'm really asking if they are an accurate record in terms of the notes themselves. In terms of the matters arising, we'll come to those in a moment. But are people content that they are a accurate record of notes of the last meeting? I'm seeing two hands up. Jeff Stacey, you want to come in?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to come in on the apologies side of things. We have had an apology from Richard Baranowski from Essex County Council Highways, but he has provided me with an update, which I'll do on his behalf. Okay,
thanks very much indeed, Jeff. I was going to come to the attendees in a while, but thank you for that. Thank you. Right, Councillor Steptoe, you have your hand up.
Yes, Chairman. It's with reference to, as you go through the notes, I've got a couple of points to just to clarify.
Okay, thank you. I am really just taking points. Is it an accurate record of the notes? Would you please raise your blue hand? And there are 2 blue hands raised at the moment, but will you please raise your blue hand to indicate your satisfaction with the notes? Right, Councillor Weston, you haven't indicated.
As I wasn't at the last meeting, Chairman, I wasn't too sure whether I should agree.
Okay, all right, no, that's totally understandable. Right, okay, perhaps I ought to do it in a different way and say for those people that were at the last meeting, if you are unhappy with any aspect of the notes, can you please raise your hand? I'll do it in a slightly different way. So, so one way or another, we'll get approval of these notes. Right, okay, well, I'm not seeing any raised hands, so I will take it that people are generally happy that those notes represent a fair record of the last meeting. Thank you. Now, moving on to items from those last notes, the way I intend to deal with this is at this stage, ask Jeff Stacey to tell me exactly who is here from our partner agencies. If you could just run through, you've already made the point about Essex County Council Highways, but do you want to just tell us who's here, please, Jeff?
Yep, certainly. We've got Dave Chapman from Essex County Council, Roger Webster from Environment Agency, and I did spot another visitor who seems to have disappeared.
Mark Lloyd.
Yes.
He's there. I can see him.
Oh, right. And Mark Lloyd from Anglian Water. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you very much. And now, coming back to Essex County Council Highways, you made reference earlier to Richard Baranowski not being here. Why have we not got representation from Essex County Highways?
Yes, Richard was informed from sort of higher up the within Essex County Council that there wasn't the capacity for him to be able to attend local meetings such as this.
Okay, right, okay, I see Dave Chapman's hand up.
Yeah, just sorry, thanks, Chair. Just on attendance, I don't know whether or not Anglian Water were sent the invite directly, but I was contacted by them last week. I actually forwarded the invite to two officers from Anglian Water. I note that they're not on the meeting, but I just wanted to raise that as maybe if they were missed off the original list, I don't know, but I have invited them, and I don't know whether or not they've shared with anybody that they can or can't make it, but I thought I'd just raise that.
But, sorry, I may be getting confused here, but I thought Mark Lloyd represented Anglian Water.
That's correct, I'm here.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, I passed it over to Jonathan and Brett, so I didn't recognise the name. Sorry, Mark.
No problem.
Okay, good. Well, that's Anglian Water, but I have to come back to Essex County Council and ask, why are Essex County Council Highways not here? Okay, clearly no answer on that. Councillor Williams, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'm very, very disappointed as portfolio holder for Environment and Place. I'm very disappointed that we're in Essex County Council Highways are not represented. Perhaps we could ask our county councillors to bring pressure that they do attend next time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Williams. Councillor Weston.
Yes, thanks, Chairman. I'm going to apologise for Essex County Council Highways because I know that Lee is up to his eyes, very, very busy, but I will take this on board, I'm sure, with Mike Steptoe and June Lumley to make sure that someone like Kevin Bentley or his vice will be at the next meeting. Sorry, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Weston, and thank you for that support. And I'm sure, along with your colleague, Councillor Steptoe, but your other colleagues who aren't necessarily here, county colleagues, you will make the strongest representation. I wish it to be recorded that I think it is a grave discourtesy that Essex County Council Highways are not here. Part of the reason why we have this forum is to bring the various agencies together so that we can actually see what is going on. One of the frustrations of members of the public is that they get bounced around various authorities and they get totally frustrated with people pushing it onto another area. And whilst Rochford District Council has no statutory responsibility for flooding, I do believe it has a responsibility to pull partners together in this type of forum so that we can actually address some of the concerns within our district. And I do not think it is good enough for people just to arbitrarily decide whether they will or whether they won't attend the meeting. So I want all pressure brought to bear from an officer perspective and certainly from a councillor perspective to say that when we invite partners, it is because we need them to be accountable for the services that they're providing, and it is not at their discretion whether or not they wish to attend. They are required to attend. Having made that point, I'll move to Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Chairman. Wholeheartedly agree with your comments. To add to Councillor Williams' suggestion that they are strongly encouraged to come to future meetings, I would go one step further and ask our county councillors who are present to make sure any questions that are raised today that are under the responsibility of Essex County Highways to answer, that they respond within a timely period. Is that okay?
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor McPherson. Councillor Steptoe.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. 2 points. One, yes, I do believe Richard has responded to the questions that were sent to him. I do believe that's the case. And secondly, I don't see anybody from the Environmental Agency. Was anybody invited from the Environmental Agency?
Yeah, we've got
I'm here, yes. Roger Webster.
I think Roger Webster was introduced to us at the start, and I will give them their great moments of fame in a while. But thank you, Roger, for being here. Thank you, Mark, for being here. And also...
My apologies, Chair, I didn't recognise the name.
Thank you to Dave Chapman. So whilst deploring the fact that some people that should be here aren't, I also welcome colleagues, and they'll have their moment to talk in a moment. Councillor Weston, you wish to speak again?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I take on board what Councillor McPherson has said, but can I just reiterate that all county councils are coming up for elections this year. That includes myself, Mike, June, etc. So we will go back and ask questions, but please bear with us, because we've got a big fight on our hands, and some of us have got 2 seats to fight. So I will take that on board, Councillor McPherson, and I'm sure Councillor Mike Steptoe will do exactly the same.
Okay, right. Thank you very much indeed. Right, I'm going to take the notes, and we're now under the matters arising. And I'm going to ask the various partner agencies to go through their section and give any comments in particular to the notes. And if I could ask those updates to be reasonably brief, please, because I don't want us to spend all morning talking about the notes. I do want to get on to the questions reasonably soon. But if I could ask, I think it's Dave Chapman, if you could take us through the first section in relation to the notes of the meeting and any comments that you wish to make, and then I'll take questions from any members following that.
Is there a copy of the notes on the? Can we put a copy of the notes on the screen, or is there a copy of the notes attached to the agenda that I can refer to?
Chairman, could you give me a moment and I'll locate them.
Chairman, just while we're waiting for Sonia, can I answer a couple of points that have already been raised with regards to the notes?
Certainly, Councillor Steptoe.
First of all, with regards to the item on page 4, Barling Creek, the original reference there was with regards to the sluice gate, which has been replaced by the Environmental Agency some time ago now, and that was the reason that it was looked to be removed, because it was referenced to the sluice gate, not any other particular problem at the time. But I was going to ask that the comment to have it, the item removed, is removed, and that because there is ongoing situation. Secondly, as well, on page 6, with regards to Sutton Road, what I've referred to as in the past the canal by the side of Purdy's, there is still an ongoing situation there with the water having an outlet from the ditch that was required to be dug by Essex County Council, and that is still an ongoing situation. So I'd like that very much to continue on the agendas.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Councillor Steptoe. Very difficult to pursue points under the heading of Essex County Council Highways if they've not actually bothered to attend the meeting.
On that particular point, Chairman, I am pursuing that offline from this meeting. That is something I'm dealing with as a separate issue.
No, that's great news, and thank you for that. But I make the point that it is actually under the Council Highways section, and they can hardly pick it up as an action to work with you if they're not even here. So I just make that point. Now, are we going to make progress on these notes?
I think I found the agenda notes, Chair, if you'd like me just to read through those updates, if that's okay.
Well, I'd just like updates, please, really.
Yeah, sure. So the first one from Essex County Council Flood Team is the work that we're doing with Rochford DC on Rawrath. And we've had conversations with Marcus Hooton and 106 money that is available to be spent there. The the latest is that it's sitting with Marcus to make sure that he's covered all aspects of where that money can or cannot be spent and how much that's likely to be, before he then makes a decision on which ones he takes forward. So myself and Roger and some other partners have been involved with Marcus about what we can do going forward, and we're just waiting for Marcus to make the decision on where that money is to be spent.
Okay, so have we got a timeline as to when we think that's likely to happen?
The latest I had, unless Roger's got something different, I think Marcus mentioned he was looking sort of August, September time this year.
Okay, but if we record that in the notes that there's, I would like some clear timelines when some of these actions are going to be completed. Otherwise, they just drift on, and I'm sure you would agree with me. Councillor Stanley, you want to come in at that point?
If I may, Chairman, just to give you an update, I've arranged with Marcus to have a walkthrough with the relevant agencies on Rorif. It's not a question of where the money is going to be spent. It's a question of looking at the area and taking in what is happening and so on. So I would suggest that I've already spoke to Marcus on when everybody is available to have a walkthrough, and I'm sure he will update you accordingly. Councillor
Stanley, that's very helpful. Thank you very much. What I'm keen is that these things do get progressed rather than sit on a without any clear action. So. Dave, right, if you want to make progress to your section, please.
Sure. The second item that I had was the Magnolia Park. This is all linked into what we would call the Ashington critical drainage area. And what we did there originally was split that into two phases. As recorded at the last meeting, phase 1 is now not going to happen, but phase 2 is hopefully going to progress later on this year. It's linked with development and Bloor Homes, which I think is currently going through the planning process. The delivery of that scheme is reliant on the application being approved, because the land that we are going to deliver that flood scheme on is actually part of the land that's being developed from Bloor Homes and their application. So at the moment, the indicative programme is that they will be on site if the application is approved in September this year. So that's where we are with the flooding in Ashington related to the Magnolia Park agenda item.
Okay, thank you.
And then the last bit is just an update on the capital.
If I may just take Councillor Gooding as we go through in case it relates to that particular item. Councillor Gooding?
Yes, sorry, it was related to that item. I was just trying to find, sorry, I don't know the background because I haven't been on the flood forum before, but how the Bloor Homes area, how that affects Magnolia Park, and if you can explain, please.
Yes, so the history was that the flooding in Ashington was split into two phases. So phase 1 was the Ashington Park the Magnolia Park that you referred to. That was looked at separately. Unfortunately, there was no scheme that was financially viable to be able to be delivered there, so as well why that phase was never taken forward into construction. The second phase, which is north of Rochford Garden Way, is the element that's then linked to the Bloor Homes application for new houses on that site.
Thank you very much indeed for that clarification, Dave. Right, moving on.
I think it's the last item that I have is just a capital flood programme update. So where we are, we're in the 6th year of our capital flood programme. We've got funding assured for 2021-22, which is great news. So we're going to be continuing the work that we've been doing over the last 6 years into next financial year. There is a provisional earmarked value that takes the capital flood programme as it currently stands up to the year 24-25. Now, year on year, we'll have to bid and provide a business case to allow that funding to be spent and where that funding will be spent. But at the moment, provisional sums have been recorded and we've made a request up to the year 24-25. Just as a side issue, it's something completely separate to the flood programme that has been running for the 6 years, is that Essex County Council, along with a number of partners, made a bid to the Innovation Fund. And that is a separate pot of money that, if successful, will run from 2021 to 2027. Now, we should hear whether or not that financial application has been successful in April. And then we will then refine that business case and then submit to draw down that money if we are indeed successful later on this financial year. We're just still waiting to see or hear whether or not we've been successful with the actual application.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Stanley?
Thank you, Chairman. Could I ask the question then, how much of the funding that is at this moment in time available, where is it going to be spent in the Rochford area, especially where we have these difficulties that we have at the moment?
So the innovation bid itself was concentrating on the River Colne and the River Blackwater catchments. Essex County Council have identified that as part of their Essex Climate Action Commission focus areas. So we predominantly looked at what we can do to work within those two river catchments to provide betterments not only in flood risk, but coastal and main river, but also help tackle the challenges that are coming out of the Essex Climate Action Commission. So that's where we predominantly focused our efforts. But also there was a value of what that bid could be up to. It was up to £6 million potentially for each scheme, for each bid. And our bid actually was virtually at £7.5 million. So we had to be very ruthless in the areas in which we could concentrate any potential funding, because at the moment it's only potential funding. And unfortunately, with the criteria that we were looking at for Colne and River Colne and River Blackwater catchments, the improvements that were provisionally put forward for Rawrith didn't make the application itself that we submitted in January, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Stanley, do you
Sorry,
come back?
Thank you, Chairman. I just wonder just when any money will be available for Rayleigh, Rawrith and Rochford, because it doesn't seem as though there is anything that's moving towards helping the area that we all live in, and rather than, I know there are others that live near the Blackwater and so on, but a distribution of funds wouldn't go amiss in this area. I'm sure you'll agree with me, Chairman.
Okay, Councillor Stanley, a point well made. I don't want us to deflect from dealing with the notes, but I'm sure that Dave is taking that back, and other members have noted a point well made, and I totally agree with you. Can I just take the rest of the section, pages 2, pages 3, pages 4, and ask members if there's any further points that you wish to raise specifically related to any of the points on those pages. Councillor Ward, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, it's just on page 3, first item, Nobles Green Ditch, which has now been attributed, I believe, to the River Roach on maps by Anglian Water. I see that it's removed from agenda, but I would just like people to note annual clearance work would be undertaken. I would just like that part to be noted. That all the local residents are very, very pleased with the work that has been done. And I would like to thank Rochford District Council and our department and working together to actually get this actually done. And I just want confirmation that this is now on the annual clearance schedule. I just need that assurance, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ward, and I'm sure that will be noted in the notes, but I'm sure various officers have noted those comments. Okay, Councillor Williams. You're on mute, Councillor Williams.
Sorry. Thank you, Chairman. I can confirm that that is the case, that they are constantly checked and maintained. Thank you.
That's good news. Thank you very much indeed, and it's nice to have that positive note. Okay, if there's no further points to raise under that section, certainly, Dave, I would like to thank you, and in no way were my earlier comments attributed to you in respect of Essex County Council. Thank you very much indeed for attending. I'm sure you'll have more comments to make in other questions as they come up, but a sincere thank you to you for your responsibility in attending this meeting. Thank you very much. Moving on then to Essex County Council Highways, not much really we can cover on there as they don't bother to turn up to the meeting. So I don't know whether our own officers are able to update us on anything to do with the items under the highways comment. Are there anyone wishing to raise any comments? I'm going to go to Jeff Stacey first.
Yes, yeah, I've been in touch with Richard Baranowski this morning from Essex County Highways, but the updates we've been through really focus on the questions that were posed, many of which pick up on the areas which are in the past minutes anyway. So if I may, I'll leave his comments until we deal with the questions that have been received from members of the public through the council website later on in the agenda.
Okay, no, thank you for that. And certainly there needs to be a tie-up, as I said to you previously, there needs to be a tie-up between the questions that are being raised currently and past, if you like, history from last year's meeting, last January's meeting. So I'd certainly appreciate that. Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chairman. One point I would like to bring up for Essex County Council, and I'm sure the people, the councillors will understand this. In London Road, Rochford District Council, through Caroline of the Waste Department, had the ditch cleared outside of the shops opposite, near enough opposite.
Councillor Stanley, can you just tell us to what item that relates? On what page are you on, please?
I'm just asking for Essex County Council to give us an update. Well,
Councillor Stanley, I'm specifically going through the section that relates to the notes. I mean, you're most welcome to raise it, but I would like to keep some order in the sense of relating to that section.
My apologies.
No problem at all. Councillor Shaw, Laureen Shaw, that is.
Thank you, Chairman. On page 5, Pagglesham Soakaway, on the 27th of the 1st, it said the funding, and it says here, was slipped back to 2021. I know we've had very difficult circumstances with the pandemic, but the pub at Pagglesham is continually flooding. And I'd like our Essex County councillors to actually go back and ask Essex County Highways what has been done. Have they found the funding for this? Because they did say it was going to be a vast amount. And at the last Pagglesham Parish Council meeting, I was asked if I could bring this up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Laureen Shaw. And I would certainly like to endorse that point that as ward councillor for that area, along with Councillor Ianu and yourself, Councillor Shaw, we have been vigorous, and frankly, to see it still not resolved, it's not good enough. Yes, I would like that escalated, please. But in the absence of the appropriate body here, a bit difficult to know how we're going to escalate it. Councillor Weston.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, just a quick one. Kevin Bentley sent me an email yesterday to have a meeting with outside bodies to do with, and I know that Councillor Michael Hoy will bring it up, to do with Lower Road. We're having a big meeting. I'm just waiting for the information, just to let you know on that score. Obviously, this isn't my area, but I'm hoping to get the new councillor in that area to get involved. But just to let you know that this isn't.
Councillor Weston, can you just refer me to the item on the page, please?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, you're on mute, Councillor Weston. Sorry, I'm just.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry, Chairman. I just thought to let you know that was Essex what we were doing. I think Councillor Steptoe would talk more on the Pagglesham one. Thank you, Chairman.
Right, I'm just keen that we stick to the notes and the specific items, as I said to Councillor Stanley, just at this stage. So I'm keen to reference that section. Councillor Ward.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, it's two items. We've got on page 5, Eastwood Rise. That is an ongoing problem. It's a legal wrangle that's going on, which has yet to be sorted, but the problem remains. The problem remains is that the water misses the drains, and this has been going on for several years, and Essex refuses to accept responsibility for that area at all. That's a legal issue that's ongoing. The other item is on page 6, last item, Eastwood Road, drains blocked. We haven't had this, still happens, they are blocked. And as far as I'm concerned, I would be remiss if I didn't raise and continue to raise these items because they need, both of them need attending.
Councillor Ward, thank you very much indeed. No doubt you will involve the county councillor for the area in the absence of Highways being attending here this morning on those two issues. Councillor Steptoe.
Thank you, Chairman. With regards to the issue at Paglesham at the pub there, I have been working with the clerk for Paglesham Parish Council. He did ask me to correspond with Councillor Bentley on this particular point, which I have been doing so. It's quite a complicated issue, as I understand it. Where the soakaway for the pub is they believe on private land, although it's water coming off of the highway. The main issue is that the soakaway does not have an outlet. And because of the surrounding property is all private property, there isn't currently an outlet for that water to run to. So they are trying to resolve that particular part of the issue. That, as I understand it, was the last communication I had about 2 or 3 weeks ago on that matter.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed for that update. Jeff Stacey, you want to come in?
Yes, just on the Paglesham side of things, it was one of the questions raised, and I've had an update from Essex Highways. Sorry, I'm just looking this up. They're saying it was passed across to be further investigated for a remedial surface water alleviation scheme, which at this time is with their design team. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Right, okay, members, moving on to the next.
Chairman, sorry to interrupt. I believe, and without going back and checking the notes, but I also believe that it is on the list for the LHP to deal with as well.
Yes, I believe that's correct as well. Thank you. Right, moving on to the next section, and we feature here, not because we have a particularly key part to play, because as I say, flooding is not a statutory responsibility for Rochford District Council. It is the partner agencies that have that responsibility, but nevertheless there are some items for there, and I'm not quite sure, Jeff, is it you that's going to talk us through the Rochford District Council items there?
Yes, I can do.
Thank you.
All right, be within a minute, just going to get those up on my screen. Sorry, I'll be within a second. Yes, as the comment there through the route through to Arnwell Lane, that's been provided there. The issue on Timberwolf Cottages, I made a lot of inquiries on that. I cannot find anybody who knows what the issue is there. So I've certainly not come across anything in terms of any Essex County Council investigations, nor anybody who seems to know what the issues were there. So I must admit, I have drawn a blank there, unless there's anybody else can advise me on that one.
Okay, is anyone able to help on that in terms of the history of the item? Failing that, it will drop off of the notes if we're not able to shed some light on it. I'm not seeing any. What I would suggest you do, Jeff, please, is perhaps just liaise with the ward councillors for that area.
Yes, I do. Yes, I have.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, then it disappears off of the item. Right. Okay. Moving on.
The Great Wakering open ditch. I didn't get any update on that one either. So again, I'm not really aware what the sort of issue there is. I've not been able to sort of follow up on that one.
Okay, sounds like similar to the last then.
Yeah. And then the sanctuary housing area, I have been in touch with sanctuary housing. We have discussed with them the maintenance of that sort of area to make sure that is maintained. And I see the note there that Councillor Mrs. Lumley was also going to raise that matter with them.
Okay. So do we believe it's done?
Chairman, can I come in, please? Councillor Ryan Shaw.
Yes, certainly, Councillor Shaw.
I'm also on the committee, and I can confirm that Councillor Lumley did ask Sanctuary, and they did clear it. They advised they had cleared it. Now, I haven't had any clarification from any of the ward members, and if that's not the case, if they could let me know, I will then go back and on the next meeting, speak to Sanctuary again. But I know she did actually put it up, did ask them.
That's kind of you, Councillor Mrs. Laureen Shaw. Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry, I popped my hand up for the item at Chapel Lane, Great Wakering. I'm new to the flood forum. I know Councillor Steptoe may be able to say why this item was on here, but I'm reluctant to have it taken off. If it's okay, I will go visit the residents down there and see if there's any outstanding issue first.
That's kind, Councillor McPherson, but what I'm keen is that these items are addressed and then they disappear, having been actioned. But clearly I don't want them to disappear before they're actioned, if that makes sense. So appreciate that.
That's great. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Steptoe.
Yes, Chair, in response to Councillor McPherson there, I don't recall this off the top of my head, but I will try and go through some notes that I have from previous meetings to see if I can identify what that is. And if I can, I'll come back to you later in the meeting.
Lovely, that's kind of you. Thank you very much indeed. Jeff, did you want to finish off on any other items?
Yes, the final one there, Kingsman Farm Road. Yes, that was referred to planning enforcement, but I must admit I haven't had an opportunity to update with them as yet as to what happened with that.
Okay. Sorry, so I mean, bearing in mind we're going through notes from 27th of January 2020, 14 months on, what's the delay there then?
It may well have been action, as I say, and unfortunately I just haven't had a chance to check up on that one.
Okay, could you make that a priority, please? Because otherwise
yes,
things just drift, don't they? And one of the, I think, downsides of this meeting is that it's a little infrequent to pursue these actions. So, you know, while I'm leader of this council and while I'm running this meeting, I just want to make sure that actions are actioned, if that makes sense. Councillor Gooding.
I'd just like to ask through you, Chair, if Jeff Stacey followed up on the jetting of the railway bridge, sorry, in Rectory Road. I did email you, Jeff, and you said you'd be talking on that.
Sorry, Councillor Gooding, where does that relate to in this item?
The item that Jeff was talking, I thought he'd finished on all the items that he was speaking on. I didn't want him to leave this
Now, as for Councillor Stanley, I will bring members in later on with any new items that they wish to raise. But I don't want to so-called muddy the waters. I want to keep it fairly crisp on the notes from last year. That's where we are just at the moment. But thank you, Councillor Gooding. Right, are you completed with your update report, Jeff?
Yes, thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Moving on to the Environment Agency, your big moment, Roger Webster. Come on down, here you are.
Morning, Chair. Yeah, there's a couple of items on page 8. So the first one is the brook behind the new development in London Road, Rayleigh. I know it's a year on. I'm presuming we've carried on maintaining that and clearing that as part of our programme. I've had no response back from any of the councillors, so I'm presuming that's okay.
Well, I'm not seeing anyone suggesting to the contrary, so you got off on that one.
Right. The second item was the Lower Wyverns Wood flood alleviation scheme on Eastwood Brook. As you can see, we worked as part of an integrated urban drainage scheme with Rochford, Essex County Council, Dave's team, to try and resolve the issue. So this came about from the flooding a few years ago at Rayleigh Weir, where the pumps failed, and then they picked up and they flushed a load of water through that system, which affected some of the properties that backed onto Eastwood Brook. So what we did was we did an initial assessment in 2019, and we were working with one of the councillors. I think it was Councillor Steptoe, though I'm not sure. I've got Councillor Lumley here, but anyway, we were looking to see whether they could use the Lower Wyverns Wood as a temporary flood storage area, if a similar situation occurred again. But unfortunately, the cost-benefit ratio for that was too low, based on the numbers of properties affected, the evidence we could get from the locals. So therefore, we couldn't progress that option as part of the scheme. The other issue was Essex County Council Highways own the Scream, which is just downstream on Lower Wyverns Road. The local residents there said that needed clearing regularly beyond the regular maintenance that Essex County Council Highways were doing. I think from memory that the Highways team were up in the maintenance programme down there to keep the screen cleared. The other issue there was when we were working with Rayleigh Town Council and Rochford District Council, there was a call to send out letters to local residents because there was issues of garden waste going into the channel, which was blocking up the screen prematurely, which meant the water was backing up and putting properties at risk. And also about a year ago, we did call for any residents, if they could give us evidence of flooding within the properties, there could have been an option of putting property level resilience to some of the properties. I don't know where that went post that about a year ago, but that offer was there at the time. So if they had evidence, surveys could have been done and property level resilience could have been put in place. Okay. The final thing I was going to add is, yeah, I echo what Dave Chapman and Councillor Stanley have said. I haven't heard of a date from Marcus at the moment, but yes, we are happy to have a meeting to discuss, to see what can be done upstream of Rawreth and Rawreth Shot.
Okay, all right. Well, look, you know, we'll be having another, what I call a proper meeting in the autumn, and I really do want to feel that some of these things have been proactively addressed, because it's quite apparent that some of them drift on, and we need a clear action plan. You know, by definition, some of them drift on because they need to drift on because it's contingent on other things happening, like planning applications being approved. But you know, we need to be pretty tight on this. Councillor Sperring.
Thank you, Chairman. With regard to Lower Wyverns, going back, this was part of Southend Borough Council becoming involved in this, because they were the ones that were the recipient of the flooding, not only the residents in Rayleigh, but down in Eastwood and the whole way down that channel towards Rochford.
Yeah,
It wasn't just Rayleigh, that little group of residents there. It was all the way down the Eastwood Road.
yes, I was going to. Yeah, sorry, Councillor Sperring. Yes, you're right. The scheme has carried on, as I believe it. I've moved away from that, but Southend are carrying that forward. So they are looking to fund improvements downstream. You're quite correct, and there was greater numbers of properties downstream that were affected by flooding. So yes, you're quite correct. That's carrying on.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And clearly, water doesn't stop moving just because it crosses a boundary of a district and a borough. And there needs to be joint working on these things. I sometimes think that people are tempted to work in silos, and well, that's Southend, or that's Essex, or that's something else. And water doesn't sort of say, oh well, because I've hit the Southend boundary, I'll stop flooding. Flooding is
Chairman, if I could just add on that they relocated the flood monitor from Southend Airport to Lower Wyverns, because this is where the problems were all starting. So
Right.
there is a flood monitor down in there in the Lower Wyverns area now.
Councillor Sperring, you talking about the gauging station there? Yeah. So that was another thing I was going to say. We put a gauging station in there to monitor the flows. And also, it's worth saying that Essex County Council Highways did improve the Rayleigh Weir pumps. So hopefully that situation won't occur again.
Okay.
Fingers crossed, I should say.
Yeah, that's always a technical assessment.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Sperring. Dave Chapman, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, it was just to follow on really from what Roger has said, is that Southend are taking a lead on this. We have quite a large amount of modelling information that's been recently updated as well, and they've requested that we share that with them. So we're in the process of sharing all of the most current up-to-date modelling information that we have for that particular location. And it's Southend to lead, but Essex County Council have offered assistance where needed in terms of either delivery or resources and whatever. So we're waiting for Southend to then just take that forward as and when they see fit.
That's lovely. Sorry, Councillor Steptoe.
Thank you, Chairman. Two things. One, with regards to the residents in Eastwood, not necessarily on our side of the border, although some of them are in my ward. I am receiving emails, and there's still a great concern about the flow of the streams through there. I don't know whether you want to take it now, Chairman, but I have found the notes with regards to Chapel Lane. If you want me to go through that at this moment, or you want to leave that till later.
No, that would be helpful, because we bearing in mind that relates to the notes of last year, so that would be really helpful.
Okay. I'm referring to the notes that were presented at the last meeting. And it's the notes of the meeting held on the 8th of November 2018, and it says, and I'll read what it says: Chapel Lane open ditch was cleared in 2015, but now part of the banking collapsing into the ditch. Angular Water rerouted part of the piped ditch into an open ditch in 2016. 5 residents are badly affected. And then it's the note say, determine who the landowner is, records to be checked by RDC. I believe that part of Chapel Lane, and I'm sure Councillor McPherson will correct me if I'm wrong here, is actually unadopted road, unmade road. I think it refers to that section of Chapel Lane, but I'm just reading what I have in the notes here.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you, Councillor Steptoe. Right. Moving on then to Anglian Water, the last part of last year's notes. Mark Lloyd, if I could bring you in, please. It looks... Can I see Mark Lloyd? Oh, yes, I can see him, but I can't hear him. When I say I can see him, he's not got his camera on, but... No. So that good old camera off trick, and he's not behind the screen at the moment. Mark, are you there? Okay, Councillor Ward.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, I did want to speak on this particular item because I'm the councillor who has brought that forward. It's not in my area, but as portfolio holder and still am, I was very concerned about the whole issue in regards to this. Drawbacks there may have been in regards to the permissions granted for planning. This is a serious issue that needs to be resolved, and I would ask that it is kept on, it is looked at, and it needs to be resolved. And I think this goes across all authorities, including our own, because we granted planning permission on this area, which definitely had a stream running through the middle of it. And
Okay.
it was
Can I see whether Mark Lloyd is with us now? Okay. Well, there's no sign of Mark Lloyd. Right. Sorry to cut you off, Councillor Ward, but I think we just have to take it as an action forward. Your point is well made.
Chairman, if I may.
Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. I have just messaged Mark Lloyd to no avail. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Councillor Loring Shaw.
Thank you, Chairman. And of course we can't have anything because he's not here, but on the very last page, new developments in Canewdon and Culane, Councillor George Ioannou at the Canewdon Parish Council had said we knew there was drainage issues and there was a blockage and he knew where it was. He'd had meetings, so perhaps Councillor Ioannou could actually advise us what has been done on it, as we can't have Anglian Water to tell us. Thank you.
Well, that's right, Councillor Shaw. I mean, I take it that any other business was of a more general nature, and I was hoping that Jeff Stacey could update us on any specifics on any other business. Can you help us on that, Jeff?
I do apologise, Chair, I jumped a page.
No, that's all right, no problem at all. Jeff, I see any other business. Is that something you can help us on? You're on mute at the moment.
Yes, what I'll do is I'll update on the a number of flooding issues that have been reported through to Rochford District Council, as well as picking up on the questions that have come through onto our website. Are we talking here about the Holbridge area?
Well, we're talking about the last 4 items on page 9.
Right. Sorry, I'll have to have a which area is that?
Well, it's the last 4 items from the meeting of the 27th of January.
Get those up. My screen's not keen on having too many things up at the same time.
Right. Okay.
Would you like me to share my screen, Chairman?
Yes, you can do, by all means. Right, it's those last 4 items, Jeff.
Yes, on my notes, I have an update on the lower road. Yes, the others I've no update on.
Okay.
No, I can't help with the others, I don't think.
Right. Okay. Well, again, it's the inadequacy of Essex County Council highways not being here, so most unsatisfactory. I can't labour that point enough. Councillor Steptoe, you wish to come in?
Thank you, Chairman. With regards to the last item there, Millview Meadows, I know some resurfacing work has since been carried out since these notes were made, I personally have not received any further complaints on this issue. I don't know if Councillor Williams has as the other ward councillor, but as far as I'm concerned, I believe the matter has been resolved.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed for that. Councillor Williams?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, Millview Meadows, I think that was surfaced, although much of it is block paving. I think that seems to resolve that issue. As far as Lower Road Junction with Ashenden Road, it's still an issue there, but unfortunately, being at the bottom of a hill in heavy rain, I don't think there's an awful lot of place for the water to go. But it does clear away quite quickly now. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chairman. With the reference to Goose Cottages, the water leak is still leaking. Anglian Water have looked at it and said it's not theirs, and so I don't know who to or who can resolve that. It's still coming out of the path. Maybe that's something for to be held on to.
Yep. Okay, thanks, Councillor Stanley, and I'm sure a note has been made of that. Councillor Ionu, you're a visiting member to this committee, but you're most welcome to make a point.
Yes, with regards to Canoodan, just to let you know, Chairman, I did have a meeting with Essex Highways, and they did do an on-site visit, and they've acknowledged that there is a blockage in the drains there, and they have taken the report away and will be scheduling the unblocking of the drains at some point in the future, but they didn't give me an estimate time to when that would be done.
Thank you, Councillor Ionu. I mean, this seems to be a general theme that people have meetings, they look and they inspect, but they don't actually give us a time when things are going to be done, which frankly isn't good enough. I've been used in the business world to identifying a problem and then you actually target a date to resolve these things, but it seems a more relaxed approach, and frankly, it's just not good enough. Councillor McPherson.
Chairman, it's only a quick point. I have a resident who has been in contact with one of Mark Lloyd's colleagues. So hopefully if you keep trying our Anglian Water representative, he may respond. Thank you.
Okay then, thank you very much indeed for that. That's helpful. Councillor Weston.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. The one with the Ashenden Road, I have emailed Essex County. They have sent me back a reply, which I sent down to Debbie Constable. I will send that on to whoever wants it if they like, but they are doing something in that area. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Right, okay, that takes us on to, I'm not sure whether any of our partners here want to make any further verbal updates. We've been through the notes in some detail. But I am keen to get on to questions from the public, unless, Jeff, you've got any issues you wish to raise under item 5.
Yes, I'll run through very quickly the areas that have been identified, not through the questions, but through other contact with Rochford District Council. And it's really just to sort of flag up that we are aware of these issues and sort of we'll look into them. But we had a number of sort of notifications of issues following the heavy rain on the 14th of January this year. And we'll be looking into stuff around Clements Hall. We've been working with Hockley Parish Council on the Marylands Nature Reserve. There was an individual case on Woodside Chase in Hawkwell. There was the issues on the railway bridges, particularly at Rectory Road. But in the past, in the flood forum, we have agreed an increased sort of jetting and cleaning with highways, so that should clear a lot quicker now. There was a report of flooding in Old London Road, Rawworth. And the usual along Watery Lane on that day. We've also had reports around Plumbrough Avenue, and in particular contact from Mr. James Hall, which we'll be sort of picking up on. The Ashington Road and Greenswood Lane junction, which we've mentioned already. Canewdon Apton Hall Road. A number of issues around Holbridge, some related to the Dome, some related to Grasmere Avenue, and Maylands Lane, which is the one that Councillor Ward was mentioning, and we'll be having some further discussions with Andrew Waite from Barrett David Wilson Homes to sort of look at that. Englefield Close and Rectory Road, Hawkwell, that was to do with clearing of the waterways there, which has been done. Still issues coming up around Great Wakering High Street. Laburnham Drive, Raworth was mentioned, but we've established contact with Greenbelt, who managed the site, and details have been passed, contact details have been passed to residents. Muckinghall Little Wakering, a specific case in Braes Lane, Ashington, some new bungalows built around there. Plough and Sale Paglesham, which we've mentioned in the update there. Belchamp Scout Camp Hawkwell, Elizabeth Gardens and Hall Road Rochford, and Swain Park. I say all of those have been raised as queries with Rochford District Council, and we will look into those to get some replies back to the people who've made the inquiries.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. And they will be incorporated in these notes with actions against them so that we can really pick them up in our autumn meeting.
That's the intention, that, as you say, the notes from this meeting will to a great extent form a list of those areas where we've been notified of issues. And as you say, we'll report back in the autumn of progress on all those areas.
Right, okay, all right, thank you very much indeed, Jeff. Really the most important section of this meeting is the engagement with members of the public who've raised questions. What I intend to do is go through those individual questions so that we can assign what we can do. I see Councillor Ward, you've got your hand up.
Thank you. That was on the last report from Jeff. Just on the Mallions Lane thing, and I know that Councillor Hoy has got his hand up now. I think he wants to come in, if we may, on this one. Fundamentally, we went there to visit the issue of the flooding that's coming off the rear of the properties at Mallions. It would appear that this is an angling water problem on their own surface water pipes. That's why it's disappointing that Mark Lloyd has kind of disappeared. But we were hoping, and I think it's best if you have a conversation with Andrew Waite, who is the senior engineer at BDW, who may be able to help on a couple of issues, not only this one, but also the Watery Lane. He has a lot of expertise in this area and was happy to talk about other solutions. Thank you,
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Ward. I'm keen to get onto these questions because I think this will sweep up a number of these issues, but Councillor Steptoe.
Yeah, just picking up on the point on Great Wakering High Street, I am aware of this particular issue and have been pursuing it along with highways. There is a possible capacity issue with the gullies that are on that particular side of the road, where it's not a problem on the other side. But as yet, I haven't had a report back as to what action will be taken.
Okay then. Councillor Hoy, I think I saw your hand up, but it's
up and down. But I think Councillor Ward has made the point. If there's anything else I need to say, I hope I can come in at the very end. That's all.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm planning to do for members' information is look at all these questions, run through them, because there's actually been 14 questions, I think it is, that have come in from 13 questions that have come in from members of the public. And I want those integrated into the various parts of our plan moving forward. And then I certainly want to take any points from councillors. So I'm planning the next half an hour will be devoted, if we get through it faster, but get through these questions. so that they can be integrated. I'm not necessarily expecting there to be immediate answers to them, but if I go through the questions, Jeff, is that all right with you?
Yes, and I have got quite a few comments back from Essex County Highways, which do relate to a lot of these questions.
Well, it's nice for them to send their comments back, showing they can't attend in person, isn't it? Because it's just no use. I mean, I don't know how strongly I need to make that point, but having their comments really doesn't give engagement, and it's most unsatisfactory. But you will have gathered I'm not impressed. Question 1: the Environment Agency needs to check out the various blockages in Hawkwell Brook between Clements Hall and Windsor Gardens. It is a designated river, and these blockages need to be removed to reduce the flooding risk. I don't know whether anyone wishes to make any comment. I mean, these will all be integrated.
Yes, I can do, Chair.
Yeah, sure.
I've had an update this morning. Our guys went through there yesterday and have cleared. It looks like from the pictures I've got, branches and bricks were in the channel, which they've cleared. They haven't done the banks because that's not part of the programme at the moment. And we remind local landowners to clear their banks, proportionally as well. But we have cleared the channel down there.
Thank you for that, Roger. Can I just come in on a general point? I mean, there are a number of ditches and waterways that do run across private ground. And I do wonder what we do to make those people aware of their responsibilities, because the trouble is they fill this stuff up with their own garden waste because they think it's a sort of an area that they can, just put garden. And to be fair, in the middle of summer, who could possibly ever think these places are going to flood? But with our the type of climate we have, unfortunately, they are required. They're a part of our infrastructure. And I sometimes think that there is a lax approach towards ensuring that homeowners and householders meet their responsibilities to, firstly, not tip their rubbish into it, because that's not what they're intended for. And secondly, to remind them of their responsibilities to keep them maintained, generally maintained. What goes on to make that happen, Roger? You're on mute. You continue to be on mute.
Sorry. Yes, it's a continual problem that we encounter. We've got some guidance on the gov.uk website, and I can share that with you with regard to riparian responsibilities. When we are able to, we do letter drops to remind people exactly, the issues you're talking about, that they have a responsibility, even though it may be a main river. We don't actually own main rivers. We work under our permissive powers under the Water Resources Act to clear as when we need to. We haven't got a finite amount of money. We can't keep clearing these channels out. We do target the money the best we can. As I say, I can share the link with regard to riparian responsibilities and ownership if that's helpful. But it is a perpetual problem. We rely on the councils, the councillors to remind people when they're out that they have a responsibility of keeping the channel clear, where they're actually in land ownership of that part of the channel.
Lovely. Okay, thank you very much indeed. I mean, I understand the issue, but we do need to constantly remind people of their duties. But to see people just piling in their garden rubbish, especially when we're so good at providing green bins, I never understand why people need to actually put their normal garden waste in these ditches, because they do actually serve a purpose. Councillor Stanley.
Out of sight, out of mind is the problem.
I think you're absolutely right there. Councillor Stanley.
Yes, I quite concur with you, Chairman. But at the same, it is. I don't know whether it's lawful or not lawful for them to cut their hedgerows down and leave the debris behind in the ditches, which is often the case. And I just wondered if it's possible that a bit more work could be involved, like for leafleting those areas where the landowners have got ditches, and should know their rights and what there should be. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Stanley, and certainly I think we ought to take this offline, because I think, you know, when you look at munched up grass verges, which seems particularly topical at the moment, you look at hedges that overgrow pavements, you look at cars that are parked on pavements, which I realise is a different thing. You know, these things all contribute to make pedestrian life quite difficult sometimes, walking down roads. But it's about reminding people of their responsibilities. But I won't dwell too far into that area. Councillor Steptoe.
Thank you, Chairman. One of the problems with ditches, of course, is those that run across the more rural areas and farmland. Can I suggest that perhaps at a future meeting that we have a representative from the National Farmers Union, that it might be useful to have them along on board to actually remind the larger landowners of some of their responsibility of keeping their ditches clear as well, because most ditches run into the farmland.
Yep, I think that's a point well made. Moving on to the second question. With the issue of surface flooding being of importance, is the council going to look into and adopt North Street? After heavy rainfall, the footpath becomes extremely difficult to navigate, and the houses that all pay their council tax struggle to access their own homes. It is somewhat of a danger on this footpath at these times. Anyone care to comment on that? Jeff?
Yes, I've a comment back from Highways on this. The assumption is this relates to North Street Great Wakering, which is designated as a private road. What he's suggesting, it seems to be that it's not something that adoption happens automatically, that yeah, they'd need to make a request to Essex County Council, who would provide relevant information regarding requirements for adoption standards and processes.
Okay, Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the issue here as well is the fact that a footpath runs through this road. It is unadopted, as Jeff quite rightly pointed out, but there is a footpath. Unless Essex County Council have visited, Highways have visited the road, and as they can't come to a virtual meeting, I fear that they haven't. It would be quite good if they actually visited it, because trust me, if somebody does fall down and they hurt themselves on that road, I wonder if they're culpable as it's a footpath. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Steptoe.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I have had quite a lot of correspondence on this particular issue. If the ward councillors and the questioner would like to contact me offline, I will cover what responses I've had from Essex County on this matter.
Lovely, thank you. Right, I'll move on to the third question. I've got to move at a bit of a pace, but long couple of questions now. We live on the Hullbridge Road opposite Labbard's farm and was severely affected by the floods in 2013. This was due to the ditch not being able to cope with the amount of water, which then subsequently entered the sewer system via the flooded road. This has also happened on 2 further occasions. After a lot of telephone calls, emails and contact with the local authority, it was finally discovered that the ditch that runs alongside the road is owned and maintained by Essex County Council. We have 2 questions in relation to this. Why has the ditch never been maintained? The only maintenance that is carried out is to cut back overhanging trees and vegetation, which are then left to fall back into the ditch, blocking it further. I was told by a local resident of over 50 years that when the ditch was first there, it was nearly 5 foot deep. So where is it's nowhere near there now. And then secondly, is in relation to the fencing and footpath which runs along the side of the ditch. The fencing has been non-existent for at least 10 years. With this being the only footpath for that road, it is also in very poor repair with potholes and cracks. I recently witnessed a gentleman on a mobility scooter almost lose control and fall into the road. With the increase in usage, especially with the extra housing in the area, it will only be a matter of time before someone falls into the ditch or has an injury caused by the poor footpath. If you could tell us the proposed programme to maintain the ditch, fencing and footpath, it would be greatly appreciated. Right, okay. Some of these I'm going to just suggest that we deal with them. Otherwise, you know, we can't debate each question as it goes through. But Councillor Stanley, you want to come in?
Thank you, Chairman. This is one of the items that I wanted to bring to your notice, and also the ditch running as far as the Tesco's Express. That is the same ditch that is supposed to be running alongside London Road. We had, or should I say, an RDC officer, Caroline, had the ditch cleared out at the front of the shops in London Road, and then the rest of it belongs to Essex County Council, which she has made inquiries to Essex County Council, and yet no forthcoming information has come from them. And this is exactly what happens. It floods and what have you. So yes, this should be left on the agenda for maybe Jeff Stacey to inquire.
Yep, okay, totally agree with that. And I'm getting a nod from him, but do you want to say anything, Jeff?
Yes, another one where I've had a reply from Essex Highways. Our understanding is that the ditch historically has been maintained by Essex County Council Highways. I'm not aware of any blocked areas, and the ditch is viewed and inspected as part of routine or ad hoc inspections of Holbridge Road. The ditch was extensively attended and further cleared in 2014. I will, however, arrange for a visit here to look at the current condition, so an action there from them. In relation to the post and rail fence, I am aware that sections are missing, and we are unaware of when or why this fence was installed. There are sections missing, and these have been risk assessed by the inspection team, and at this time are not deemed to be of high priority for repair. And then on the footpath along Holbridge Road, will also have been risk assessed, and any defects of high priority will have been attended. I am not aware of any plans to resurface or significantly patch this footway at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, I've really got to move this along, otherwise we're not going to get through the questions. But if I can ask for points to be brief, Councillor Hoy.
Thank you, Chairman. This comes under my ward, Holbridge Road. The ditch has not been cleared to any significant extent, not even in 2014. It does need maintenance, and it does need doing. The fence along the side used to be cleared by the Essex Highway the fence used to be sorted out by the Essex Highway Rangers. As they come under RDC now, I assume it's become our responsibility as the District Council to replace the fence. As to the footpath, the path, I mean, these two subjects are off the flood forum anyway. They're really other issues. Yeah. The footpath is in a dreadful state from where the new cycleway finishes, and it does need completely resurfacing, but obviously that's a separate issue which should be taken up with Essex.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Steptoe.
Yeah, Chairman, I'm just a little confused. Councillor Stanley was referring to a ditch along London Road opposite the Tesco Express. I think that's a completely separate issue, isn't it?
I think it is actually. I must admit, when I look back at the question I've read, I don't see the linkage to London Road.
My apologies, I got mixed up. Sorry.
Okay, all right. Right, moving on to question. Councillor Sperring.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I just say, with regard to Councillor Hoy's comments, when RDC took over the Highway Rangers, they took over the Highway Rangers. They didn't take over all their responsibilities that were with Essex County Council at the time, and nothing has come attached to the Highway Rangers. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. I want to move on to question 4. I'm a Southend-on-Sea Borough Councillor, and on behalf of my Eastwood residents, we are concerned about waterways that we share with Rochford District Council and their management. Will Rochford District Council be supportive of ensuring a good and proactive dialogue with its neighbours? Thank you. I think the answer to that is yes, and we touched on that subject earlier. Water doesn't stop running just because it crosses a district or a borough area. We live in Lower Road opposite the Valley Farm, and it is well documented regarding the problems with the culvert on the south side of Lower Road. The road was severely flooded for a total of 31 days from the 15th of November 20 to the 26th of January 21. Works were undertaken on the 23rd, sorry, I beg your pardon, 27th of January 21 to clear the blocked pipes leading from the culvert, with matters improving since then, albeit with much less rainfall. I've recently heard from ECC that they anticipate investigating the possibility of undertaking further additional drainage works on the site. I feel that the culvert is in a very poor condition, and yesterday I had to remove some items which were likely to have caused further blockages. I therefore would like to ask if the culvert could be repaired and some form of cover be installed to ensure debris does not enter the culvert. It could be considered dangerous as somebody could fall into it, especially at night. So that really is an observation rather than a question. Councillor Weston.
Just to say, Chairman, anything like this, I am keeping on board with Essex County. I am looking at this one as well. Jeff Stacey might have something to say, but also I understand part of it belongs to the a landowner as well, which obviously we're having to sort out. Thanks.
Yes, and thank you for that point. That's often the case, that actually people think that is within the council's responsibility, whichever council. Turns out sometimes to be their own responsibility, but there we are. Councillor Michael Hoy.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry for keep butting in. Yeah, Councillor Kevin Bentley at Essex was very helpful in clearing the culvert, and the reports back from the people who cleared it as an urgent matter did say that the culvert did need working on it. It goes under the road at Lower Road at that point. So obviously it's quite a major bit of work if they need to do any roadworks there. It needs closure of a PR route. The ditches along the side of the road on the south are still flooded, so there's clearly a blockage somewhere there, and I'd be grateful if you could keep this on the agenda from that point of view for actions to be taken.
Yep, certainly will do. Jeff, did you want to come in there?
Yes, just with a comment from Essex Highways. We are aware of the issues here, and it is currently being further investigated by the Essex Highways drainage team, which I think was indicated in the comment. Anyway, so that really just confirms that.
Lovely, thank you for that. Right, question 6, flooding during and after moderate to heavy rain outside houses 251 and either side of High Street, Great Wakering have been reported several times, with latest update for reference 2440788 being worked complete. However, recent rain has highlighted this issue has not been resolved, and flooding continues, with the drain outside 251/253 quickly becoming overwhelmed. As indicated previously, this poses a significant risk to children and adults leaving these houses. We are not aware of flooding at either side of the affected drain, which again has been mentioned several times during previous reports of surface flooding with Essex Highways. We're also not aware of any issues with the drains on the opposite side of the road. I'm intrigued as to how these completed works have been resolved when the issue still persists with the same level of flooding. Don't know whether or not you have an answer on that, Jeff.
Yes, I have a comment on that one. Yes, footway works have been undertaken at this location as pre-patching prior to the surface being overlaid, which may have been thought to have dealt with the inquiry. Well, that's not worded very well, but I think what he's saying there is people may have thought that the work's been finished, but it's in fact it's only preliminary work that they're doing. He goes on to say, I'm not aware of any further issues with the drainage system itself, but can direct jetting crew to this site to clear gullies and jet the system. There is an angling water system in this area to which I assume our system connects. That's the comment from Highways. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Steptoe.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I did refer to this earlier on. Councillor McPherson mentioned this. I will pick this up again with Richard, because his statement there, I wasn't aware of anything further. I'm sorry to say is incorrect. There are concerns I have raised about what's known as the topography of the highway there, as to how the water runs and where it flows to, and there is some issues about the capacity of the particular gullies that we are in question. If the questioner and also the ward councillors like to contact me offline on this, I will go through what process I've been through.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Steptoe. Right, moving on, item 7, question 7. Ironwell Lane was, if not actually flooded, certainly very badly affected by water a few weeks ago. The big runoff pipe from the new estate suds discharges directly into the lane side ditch, which is so shallow and overgrown it can't cope. Further up, it's the same, but without the extra input. One simple answer would be a modest sized culvert taking it over to the Brook, which had plenty of headroom at the time. So I think that's just a point to take away. Councillor Steptoe.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I have had a number of issues in and around the development of the Hall Road estate, the Elizabeth Gardens, with regards to water runoff and various ditches, particularly from those people that live in Oak Road, which is alongside the thing. A lot of this is being looked at by Rochester District Council Planning Department because as it's the site is still under development, there is some issues around the water runoff from that. So that is something that is ongoing at present.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Yeah, it's just a highway comment that this is very much. Sorry, this moves around every time I put my speaker on. They're not aware of any actual highway flooding in this area, so seeing that very much as ditch maintenance, which is the responsibility of the adjacent riparian owner. So they're not seeing that as a Essex Highways issue.
Right, but I think it's again a clarification of who owns the ditch, because obviously the owner might think it's county and county think it's the owner. So it's making the owners aware of their riparian responsibility, I would suggest. Dave Chapman, you want to come in?
Yeah, I don't know the new development in person, but just to reiterate that if there are issues around the runoff rates from any particular drainage, if their 10 dwellings are above or a hectare and over, they will have come to our team for consultation. So I don't know what size development this one is, but that may have come to us. If there is issues with such runoff and calculations, then by all means contact us and we will pass comment on anything that potentially may be an issue. The same goes for riparian ownership issues with the maintenance of a ditch, not just in this location, but generally. If there are any inquiries that relate to that issue, then please just send them over to us and we'll work our way through them.
Okay, well, I mean, I think the key thing was Highmore Lane was not actually flooded. So it sounds as if I mean, it's a maintenance issue rather than necessarily a flooding issue, but there we are. Councillor Steptoe?
Yeah, Chairman, if I can come back on that. The ditch that I have got in question, we believe to be in the ownership of the developer at this stage, but that needs to be confirmed and waiting for it to confirm. I have raised the issue of the SUD calculations with officers at RDC, but as of yet I haven't had a response back from RDC as to how they're taking those calculations and issues forward. As I say, it is still a development site of some 600 properties, which hasn't been fully resolved as far as that's concerned. So I'm still waiting for correspondence from RDC on it.
Okay, thank you for that. Right, next one is one we touched on earlier. When will the ongoing problem of surface water outside the Plough and Sale public house be addressed? It has been going on forever with promises of a solution, but so far no results. Look, that came up earlier. I'm nothing like as frustrated as the owner would be, but it's an appalling issue. It sits within Councillor Laureen Shaw, Councillor Ionu and my area. And I know much work has been done by the ward councillors collectively on that. It's not good enough. It's simple as that. You should not have a pub that is constantly watching out for the slightest bit of rainfall. It needs to be sorted, and sorted it will be. But how we sort it, we'll deal with perhaps in the next meeting as a pending action. Councillor Laureen Shaw.
On that note, Chairman, I've just gone back through my notes, and Terry Cutmore first brought this up to committees in 2008 with pictures. So it has been going on a long time.
It certainly has, and you're absolutely right. But we did have an update, and it will appear on the the pending list. Thank you, Councillor Shaw. Right, question 9, Moons Close Highcliffe Crescent, first raised at meeting 8th of November 2018, situation deteriorated over the last 7 months, raised with County Councillor Steptoe on the 15th of January 21. Essex County Council Highways reply, will raise again with Anglian Water. Did this happen and what was the outcome? Can the drain be regularly jetted if the problem is to do with the connection to the main drain? Lower Road junction with Greensward Lane, first raid meeting 27th of January 2020. Essex County Council Highways to look at area. Did this happen? There's no improvement. In fact, the flooding is worse. Raised with County Councillor Weston, 3rd of February 21. Adjacent to 621 Ashington Road, problem for over 6 years. Appears water runs off a field, creating a river along the footway and carriageway. Recent cold weather made the road treacherous. What steps are being taken to alleviate this problem? Possibility of a drainage ditch, raised with County Councillor Weston in February. So there's a number of points there. Don't know whether anyone wishes to comment. Jeff?
Yeah, again, I've got some comments from the Essex Highways. On the first section, yeah, it's picked up, this has been discussed at previous flood forum meetings and elsewhere. It was attended in December, but in our opinion, we would ask Anglian Water to further investigate their system. In the meantime, we will attend with jetting crew if required. The second question, their comment is, the jetting crew attempted this work, but it was abandoned due to difficulties with traffic management. Road width is too narrow. We are currently investigating this with a view to reattendance as appropriate. And their comment on the final question was, we're not aware of any current issues here, but can visit the site and investigate further.
Okay, well, that will be integrated into the actions from this meeting. Councillor Weston?
Yes, Chairman, I was just going to say I'll take all those on board, which I've already done anyway. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Councillor Steptoe?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. With regards to the Moon Close part of the situation, as you can see there, I have reported this to Highways. They were raising the issue with Anglian Water. I don't believe that they've received a response from Anglian Water on this matter. I certainly haven't, as at this stage yet.
Okay, thank you for that. Question 10, can anything be done regarding the consistent rainwater flooding at the junction where Pointers Lane meets Wakering Road? It's an accident black spot as it is, with poor left and right visibility when pulling out into Pointers Lane, with many motorists already on the lane not slowing down for potential hazards such as cars attempting to pull out, cyclists without lights and people walking in the road. Thank you. Rainwater flooding at Pointers Lane where it meets Wakering Road. Councillor well, let's go to Jeff Stacey in case there's a comment there. And
yes, there is a comment from Highways. Sorry, here it is. We have looked at the defects recorded and will attend the gullies and drainage system at this location. So an action indicated from them. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Steptoe.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. This particular junction is coming up on the LHP paperwork. I'm just quickly looking at that. I can't quickly see it, but it is coming up as a scheme for the LHP to improve that particular junction because there has been a number of accidents there. The design situation of that junction, including some of the drainage, has been completed. It's now coming back to the LHP for funding, I believe, for to actually carry out the necessary works. So that will appear on the agenda next week, I think it is, for the LHP.
Lovely, thank you. Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Chairman. As we know, the LHP will take a millennium to come to actually fund anything. In the meantime, going back to what Jeff Stacey said, Highways need to go out and address a lot of the foliage around there. It's all very well clearing the drains, but unless they're going to address that, it's only going to repeat the same process. So if they can do that in conjunction, please, Jeff, and if you could ask that of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Weston.
Yeah, just on the chat side, Chairman, Mark Lloyd has said he apologised, difficulty, technical issues. He has some answers to some of your queries that are being asked on the chat if you wanted to have a look at that. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to ask Jeff to keep an eye on the chat, or Sonia to keep an eye on the chat, and we'll come in at the end on that. Question 11 is an offer of help rather than a question, so I will move on to 12. Who is responsible for keeping the stream between Little Wakering Road and Kimberley Road clear of obstruction and stopping it from flooding? Who is responsible for clearing the street drains along Little Wakering Road? Where it rains, some of them are blocked and flood the road. Jeff, you got any comment on that?
No, I haven't. I think this one must have arrived late or something. I haven't picked this up in the questions I discussed with highways.
Okay, Councillor Steptoe.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. This is the one that I had to declare an interest in, the Barling Creek stream that they're referring to. Dave Chapman may wish to come in on this particular point with regards to the maintenance aspect. I know he has been corresponding with the riparian landowners of this particular stream. As far as the gullies are concerned along Little Wakering Road itself, the gullies there are responsibility of Essex County Council. They have had the gully sucker along there over the last week or 10 days or so. We did actually identify a couple of gullies that Essex County Council for some reason weren't aware of, which have been dealt with as well. So I think that covers. I think, Dave, I don't know if you want to comment further on the aspect of the land ownership of the stream.
Yeah, if you'd like me to, Chair, I can just add Flood's team input if you like. So as Councillor Steptoe has mentioned, riparian landowner letters have been sent out, not just to one, but a number of properties that are riparian owners of the particular stream in question. We've had some responses back. I think there's been, and Councillor McPherson will probably join, there's been a little bit of confusion about some of the work that has been done and some of the issues that we're trying to raise with those landowners. So we'll be following those up. But basically there's a number of landowners, some more than others, that have a responsibility to address bank issues that where they're failing, falling into the ditch, creating a problem. Those will be addressed through continued correspondence, and there is actually a site visit in the diary for the next couple of weeks, so that we can get the engineer out there just to look in detail and follow up any of those questions that have been raised, or follow up with landowners about required work that needs doing.
Lovely, thank you. Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Dave. I'm glad you gave a clear update. Obviously, I had a very upset, very elderly lady who received a letter telling her that she had done unconsented works. Luckily, she had a letter which she quickly produced where she had, once upon a time, done works, all agreed and all consented to. So I would just say a little bit of caution when these letters are going out. As you rightly said, Dave, there is one landowner who is probably, well, I think almost definitely responsible for a lot of remedial work, but it put the fear of God up into some of the other residents. So that's my only comment. Just please think before and perhaps get in touch with us and we'll have a chat. And also, if you can let me know that date, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I come back on the point, please?
Yeah, very swiftly, if you will.
Yeah, just to confirm, also as well, going further down the line with regards to the water running into this stream, as I said earlier on, there's a number of tributaries that run into that. I think it's either 3 or 4. I have been talking to officers at Essex as to what we can do to try and slow down the water running into this stream at an earlier stage, further upstream of the tributaries. with things like, for example, leaky dams, that type of assistance, so we don't get such a high quantity of water running into this stream at high tide intervals.
Thank you. The final question is, what will be done to help the pumping station in Kimberley Road cope with heavy rainfall? It hasn't been able to manage for the last 20 years. Enough is enough. Action needs to be taken urgently, especially with more homes being added to this system. Any comment on that one? Councillor McPherson? Councillors? Well, let's go to Councillor McPherson first.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't know if our representative from Anglian Water can actually type something in the messenger that could be relayed by Sonia, but I would hugely appreciate a response to this email. As the resident has rightly pointed out, it has been going on for some considerable years now. It will, as you've said yourself, Chairman, only get worse with things like climate change. I really think the residents need an answer, so if you can pop one over, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Councillor Steptoe?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. With regards to the pumping station, I have been talking to officers at Anglian Water. They are trying to identify all of the various aspects of the a larger area as to what feeds into the pumping station. There is some issues about too much stormwater getting into the foul sewage system, which needs to be addressed, so the capacity of the pumping station is far better. There's also issues being raised as to whether the outfall pipe from the pumping station is sufficiently large enough. There have been some discussions on that. I'm waiting for the Anglian Water officers to come back to me to arrange a meeting so all of those concerned can discuss this matter, both residents, ward councillors, etc., to come back and discuss this matter further with Anglian Water at a meeting.
Thank you very much, very helpful. Councillor Williams?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. At the last heavy rainfall, when this was flooded, I visited this site with Councillor Mike Steptoe and Councillor McPherson. We went down there and had a look. A lot of the problems with the drains then were the surface water flooding due to tidal lock. The water was going into the sewage system, but that weekend they were actually replacing the pumps. Since then, we've not had any heavy rain, so we're not really sure of what the outcome will be yet, but I think over the next few days we could be having a bit more rain, so we'll see perhaps. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All those items will be incorporated within the notes, of course, with appropriate actions taken so that they can be monitored. Councillor McPherson, you want to come back?
Thank you so much, Chairman. As we've got our representative from Anglian Water, even if he can't speak to us, can he actually confirm, because it's all very well and kind of Councillor Steptoe to organise separate meetings, but the whole idea of this flood forum is that we're here, it's an open meeting, the residents can view this recording, and we need to have answers to this. It is hoped that this is alleviating the problem, but is it going to fix it? And that's what I want to know. Thank you.
And I think that's a really good point. I mean, it's refreshing to know that an awful lot of points that have been raised are being addressed, but they do need to be fed back to the central messaging system so that the wider flood forum members are aware of what's going on, because there's clearly a lot of good work that is going on, but I think that's a point well made. Thank you very much indeed. Now, we've got 10 minutes or so left if we run to time. What I'm keen to do is pick up on any points that Mark Lloyd has made in the chat because he hasn't been able to connect. Sonia or Jeff, are you able to run us through those points?
Happy to do so, Chairman. In terms of the last item, Mark Lloyd has suggested that any further issues that arise from today's meeting can be emailed to him, and he will action them for investigations. And then he had some updates on the Anglian Water items on the notes from the last meeting, if you want me to go through those, Chairman.
Would you mind?
Sure. So he says that on page 7, relating to Fairmead Rayleigh, He contacted Sanctuary Housing after attendance, which deemed this was a non-Anglian Water issue. They were very reluctant to attend and complete the screen and watercourse clearance until the threat of flooding to residents was clearly explained. And he says, I can confirm they have attended and completed the maintenance required, although I have stressed that this needs a preventative maintenance schedule for works to be carried out. Unfortunately, this is something that Anglian Water cannot enforce Sanctuary Housing to complete.
So can those not speaking go on mute, please, because there's a bit of background noise. Thank you.
And then on page 8, Cornhill Avenue, Anglian Water previously attended, and all surrounding Anglian Water Southwest assets were all jetted and CCTV'd with no issues found. We're happy for the developer to request a Section 106 via Anglian Water Developer Services in order to connect onto our Anglian Water main to try and remedy flooding, but this will need to be applied for via the developer. And then page 4, Grove Road to Rayleigh. Pump internals were replaced around 2016 to enable more efficiency. This issue is currently on the list to be looked at for hydraulic modelling to ascertain if the root cause is our network or pumping station. Due to the pandemic, non-emergency works at Anglian Water are currently on hold, which has hampered investigations. That's it, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed, Sonia. Councillor McPherson, you've got your hand up.
Sorry, Chairman, I'm persistent if nothing else. As Dave Chapman kindly referred to organising a site visit, perhaps we could hold down our Mark Lloyd to actually come along to that site visit. Only the ditch does impact on the pumping station, so it is one of the same sort of issue, if that's possible, and perhaps he could answer that now.
I'm not sure he's got an audio link to us, but
oh yeah, he said he's very happy to attend the site visit. Lovely, thank you very much, Mark.
Okay, right, Councillor Ward, you have got your hand up.
Yeah, sorry for delay, I'm muting. Yeah, it's just basically on the Anglia the report. Let me see if I can get this back up again, because it's quite difficult actually. Right, just bear with me.
Within the last few minutes.
It's it's the pumping station. Literally, I know that I've been questioned. Mark Francois just asked me what the progress, and he wanted a time actually when this was going to be completed. Maybe again, if Mark can come back and give an answer. He wanted something definitive because of the issues that are going on down there, and they have caused major problems, which obviously Mark is aware of because he put that in the chat at 12:40. So there's a time. We need a rag on this one, if we may. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you for that, Councillor Cheryl Rowe.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to speak towards the end of the close of the meeting, if that's okay, Chairman. So if you want to finish off, then I will just speak before we close.
Right. What I would like to do is just, the most important thing for me was certainly picking up on past issues, certainly picking up on questions from members of the public. And now I would like to have a quick run round from any councillors where I don't really want to repeat of any of the past issues, but is there anything fresh that any member on this group feels needs to be raised that hasn't come up in previous discussions? Councillor Hoy.
Thank you. It was mentioned by Jeff very briefly under the Holbridge section of his report. It actually comes under Roreth, I believe, or partly Rayleigh, but it is Watery Lane. He used the terms the usual flooding. Most people living locally don't think it is the usual flooding. The flooding of Watery Lane has become much more frequent although temporary event. In the past, it's flooded and stayed flooded for a long time. Now it appears to be flooding and then clearing relatively quickly, maybe in a day. There is suspicions that I've mentioned it's David Wilson Home. It may be to do with the way the SUDS is working on the site at the moment, or the way the pond at the bottom is draining immediately into the brook along the side of Watery Lane. And I just want that added to the agenda on a permanent basis, or not on a permanent, until it's sorted out, or we get some clarity over what's happening, if that's possible, please, Chairman.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think that anything which is impacting to make Watery Lane worse than, as the name implies, a watery lane, certainly we ought to be on top of that, because we shouldn't be doing things that exacerbate the problem. Trying to minimise it should be the objective. I think you would agree with me there, Councillor Hoy.
Yeah, thank you. But I stress it does come under Councillor Stanley's wall, but I get the complaints because people drive through it from Holbridge. The other thing was just very briefly on the Mallions Lane development, which is the land between Lower Road and Windermere Avenue. I understand that Anglian Water were being invited to visit the site, but I don't know if they have. It's probably best if we can make sure that's also, I know it's been raised and mentioned, but can we leave it on the agenda? We hope to get it sorted out quicker than that, but I would maybe liaise with Mark Lloyd outside the meeting on this, because it needs a survey done, which Councillor Ian Ward mentioned. Thank you.
Okay, lovely, thank you. Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a couple of pointers, and I do apologise that I got one place mixed up with the other. As I was saying about the ditch, it would be nice if the ditch was cleared in London Road to hold the water rather than let it spill over onto the road, which is Essex County Council's responsibility. We've had part of the ditch cleared by RDC, which I'm very pleased about, as which you could see yourselves, but it's down to Essex County Council. Also, the pumping station at the Fair Glen, when we did have the flood on January the 14th, the water was coming off of the new park, if you like, the new park that's being built there. And when the pump started, overfilled the, if you like, the reservoir that's further up by the railway line, which then went into the Chichester Brook, which then ended up into the Rorif and thereby raised the level in there. I asked the question, was the gates open for flood water to get out at Battles Bridge? As far as I'm aware, they weren't open, and that's what caused the flooding to Rorif at the bottom there. So I would ask that question to the Environment Agency, or whoever that may be. I am, as Marcus, I just got an email from Marcus saying that he is trying to arrange this meeting with the relevant organisations. So that's about all I can do at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Well, that will be recorded as a point, and there'll be an action against to deal with the points that you raise. Councillor Weston.
Hi, thanks, Chairman. As I said previously, I am going to be having a meeting with Kevin Bentley regarding Watery Lane. I'm also in contact with Brian Marston Carton. He's asked me a question which I will be emailing Mark Lloyd about, to do with the pumping station from Ferry Road near River Crouch via Plenty Gardens to the pumping station Lower Road and the development of Mallions Lane. So I will be asking or sending an email to Mark Lloyd, and I will keep Councillor Michael Hoy and Stuart Wilson in Holbridge in touch. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Ward.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. It's just quickly, if I can ask Jeff Stacey if he can make sure he does contact Andrew Waite and gets a get-together, because he's one of the experts from outside, with Mark Lloyd and possibly Dave Chapman and Roger Webster, because, you know, there are issues that I think are multi-authority that maybe he can advise on.
Okay, last few comments before I bring this to a close and make my final comments. But Jeff?
Yes, it was just to reply to that. I was in touch with Mr. Andrew Waite, isn't it? And yeah, we will be picking up on that. When we contacted each other, it was clear that this wasn't the right forum for him to go into the sort of level of detail that he needs to do, and it would be better to do that as a separate meeting. So we will be picking up on that.
Okay, Councillor Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I know it's a bit of a difficult start, but all in all, I think it was a very productive meeting. Thank you very much. But not wishing to labour the point, I would like to ask the councillors, county councillors, to show our displeasure for Essex County Council Highways for not attending. Thank you.
Councillor Williams, thank you very much indeed. And people will get used to the fact my style is very much identify a problem, decide whether you're going to do something about it, and then action what you are going to do about it. And, you know, that leads to that's the way we're going to move this forward in the future, I'm afraid.
Most excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, to you, Councillor Rowe, before I wrap up with a few closing comments.
Thank you, Chairman. And with this, I wear my governance hat. So can we please ascertain, obviously, for obvious reasons, we hadn't had a meeting for 14 months, and that's understandable with the situation that we were in. However, this is an extremely important meeting to our residents, especially those that are going through the flooding situation. So can you please tell me, Chairman, your stance on how often you think you're going to have these meetings? And I assume that it won't be before we're back in a building of some sort where it can be public. And can we please make sure that residents are allowed to attend these meetings? We've seen these in the past, that they are attended quite well, and people are just going to get frustrated. And quite frankly, I was almost flooded back in 2012, and it's not a nice feeling. So I think those people that do have issues need to have their voice heard in these kind of meetings. That's what they're for. Thank you, Chairman.
Absolutely right, Councillor Rowe. That feeds nicely into my closing comments, in the sense that flooding, really, if you're affected by flooding, is every bit as bad as fire or other hazards that can occur. And certainly we do take this very seriously, and we should take it very seriously. But as an authority, we have no statutory responsibility on flooding. But I do believe that we do have a responsibility to our residents to ensure we engage with the appropriate partners. And certainly I would like to pay particular thanks to Dave Chapman and Roger Webster, who have been able to join us virtually on this meeting, and also thank Mark Lloyd, who went through a number of IT difficulties, but at least was able to respond on the chat function. So yes, this is a key issue. But moving forward, look, you know, I said at the start, this isn't ideal. Virtual meetings will never be a replacement for those physical meetings where we can truly engage, which is why I would like a meeting in the autumn. And by autumn, I mean sort of September-ish. That's what I'm working to. And it's to be hoped that we can get back into a physical meeting place, because I welcome the opportunity to engage with members of our public who care about this issue in exactly the same way that we do. I would encourage, shall I say, and I think I'm using the word encourage, but you'll know from my earlier comments that all partner agencies attend the meeting as well, because you know, I believe that you should. I think a point was made earlier that meetings that go on between councillors should be somehow captured, so that that's fed into the system, so that the action plan can be updated, because there should really be the issue, action being taken by officer, councillor or whoever, and then some feedback, so that we can actually have a public document which actually shows what action is being taken. And I have to say, with some skepticism, you know, really, we don't want looking into, we really want to looking into, is it an issue, and resolution. That is really what we need to move towards. And, you know, in all fairness, some of these things have been drifting on for a while, and we need to understand it is not good enough. And I do pick out, you know, Paglesham Pub. Why should they look out every time it gets a cloudy day? Why should they be looking out the window, worrying as to whether or not they're going to be flooded, while we go through the bureaucratic process of deciding if there's funding or whether we put it off or can we find a solution? And I just use that as an example, but it applies to a number of these issues where, especially if premises are going to be flooded, we should do better. The other thing that I think would be helpful is I think that there should be some member visits to some of these sites so that members are more aware of the actual site location. So I think perhaps that's a possibility, certainly for the ward councillors. So I think we ought to consider how we can engage and get some member visits. Really, in conclusion, I would certainly like to particularly thank members of the public that are looking at this through the council's YouTube channel. I want to make a personal apology that it's not been possible today for you to engage. I was on a pretty close limit yesterday to decide whether or not we totally postpone this meeting until we could have better engagement. I made the decision when I found out that it wasn't going to be possible to have direct engagement, that it should still go ahead. I would like to echo Councillor Williams' views that I think it has actually been a most productive meeting in terms of pulling these issues together. But rest assured, under my leadership, we will be dealing with this in a business-like fashion. We will be logging the points that have been made today. The great fortune of a virtual meeting is that it can be reheard, re-looked at, so that we make sure that we capture all the points. We have superb officers that will have been making robust notes, and we come back together in an environment in September where I hope a number of the points have been addressed. So can I thank everyone that's visited today very much, and I thank members that have taken part very much, officers. Thank you, and with that I will close the meeting.